Here's a fact that doesn't make sense. In 1959, 9 of the Soviet Union's most experienced winter hikers died on a mountain they'd climbed before. Fully equipped, fully stocked, no signs of external attack. But they cut open their own tent from the inside. They ran into a blizzard, half-dressed. And some of them took their clothes off before they died. For 60 years, people blamed secret weapons, government experiments, even a Russian Yeti called the Menk. But forensic psychology has had the answer the whole time. It just wasn't dramatic enough for the internet. What actually happened that night is worse than any conspiracy because it has nothing to do with monsters. It has everything to do with how your brain works under pressure. First, forget the idea that these were rookies who got in over their heads. This was January 1959, the Soviet Union. The group was led by Igor Dyatlov, an engineering student who had completed 9 previous winter expeditions. The team was experienced, fit, and certified for the highest difficulty rating in Soviet mountaineering. This wasn't their first time in the Urals. This wasn't even their first time in extreme cold. They had food, they had gear, they had a working stove inside the tent. On the night of February 1st, everything was fine. Their last diary entries were cheerful. Someone even wrote a mock newspaper with jokes in it. That same night, they were dead. So what happened in those few hours? Investigators found the tent sliced open from the inside, not torn, cut with a knife. That tells us one thing immediately. Whatever happened, happened fast. Fast enough that they didn't use the tent's actual exit. Here's the current best forensic theory, a slab avalanche. Not the dramatic Hollywood kind, a dense, silent block of compacted snow that slides without warning. The team had camped on a slope. That night, a slab likely broke loose and hit the tent, not burying it, but compressing it, enough to fracture ribs, enough to crack skulls. But here's where psychology takes over from physics. Because the injuries weren't fatal immediately. These people were hurt, but alive. They could move. And what they did next is where the real horror begins. In forensic psychology, there's something called acute stress response cascade. When the human brain perceives a sudden, violent threat, especially in the dark, especially when disoriented, the prefrontal cortex, the rational decision-making part, goes offline. The amygdala hijacks everything, fight, flight, or freeze. These 9 people chose flight. And here's the thing about panic. It's contagious. Studies on group behavior in emergencies consistently show that when one person in a high-trust group bolts, the others follow. Not because they've assessed the danger, but because that person's panic becomes their evidence. It's called social proof under threat. If Igor is running, there must be something to run from. They didn't stop to grab boots. They didn't stop to grab coats. The threat their brains registered was inside the tent, so outside felt safer, even at -30. In a rational state, every one of them knew that was wrong. But they weren't in a rational state. They were in full amygdala override. Now they're outside, half-dressed, temperatures plummeting, hypothermia sets in within minutes at those temperatures. And hypothermia does something to the human brain that investigators initially found baffling. It creates paradoxical undressing. As core body temperature drops, the peripheral blood vessels, which had constricted to protect vital organs, suddenly dilate. The blood rushes back to the skin. And the brain interprets that sudden warmth as overheating. People in late-stage hypothermia genuinely feel like they're burning up. So they take their clothes off. 3 of the Dyatlov hikers were found partially or fully undressed in the snow. For decades, this was evidence of some exotic weapon or strange radiation. It's not. It's a documented textbook symptom seen in hypothermia victims worldwide. It even has a name: paradoxical undressing. Emergency workers find it so regularly, they've built protocols around it. The mysterious behavior has a medical school explanation. But what about the ones found deeper in the forest? With severe internal injuries, broken ribs, a missing tongue, but no external wounds? The rib fractures are consistent with the initial slab impact. Compression trauma, the kind you'd see in a car crash, not a beating. The tongue, removed post-mortem by scavenging animals in the weeks before the bodies were found. And the deeper group, the ones who made it furthest, they show a classic survival psychology pattern called purposeful regression. When the rational mind cannot solve a problem, it defaults to the last behavior that felt safe. They built a snow den. They tried to make fire. They were trying to survive. They just ran out of time and body heat and luck. There was no monster, no weapon, no cover-up. There were 9 humans whose minds did exactly what human minds do under extreme, sudden, catastrophic stress, and whose bodies did exactly what bodies do in severe cold. The Dyatlov Pass incident became a conspiracy because we cannot accept this explanation, because if 9 experts, experienced, prepared together, could unravel completely in a single night, what does that say about the rest of us? We want there to be a monster. We want government weapons. We want a force powerful enough to explain what happened, because the alternative, that the human mind is this fragile, this hackable, this quick to abandon everything it knows, that's the version that keeps you up at night. Not the Yeti, this. Forensic psychology doesn't make the Dyatlov Pass incident less scary. It makes it the most scary thing you've ever heard.